Good morning, all. Primex Pharmaceuticals OY is domiciled in Finland. We have subsidiaries in Switzerland and in Italy. I'm Alan Knox. I'm British. Well, we don't really know where we are at the moment. Even more confusing from yesterday, so we're even becoming undemocratic, so to speak. But my subject today is really about focusing on anesthesia. We are a leading global, innovative, but more importantly, commercially focused anesthesia company. Many of you are here today, preclinical, clinical, and so really what I'm looking at is commercializing assets. We don't have heavy R&D. We don't do preclinical, clinical development. We don't manufacture. We use contract manufacturers in Europe to get the quality, obviously. And really, it's about bringing innovations to anesthesia, which is quite a blue ocean to the doctors' fields, because anesthesia, there's been very few innovations. I launched Propofol 33 years ago in London, which is an injectable anesthetic, and it's been used and still sold, and its turnover annually of Propofol is around $1 billion annually. Orion has dexmedetomidine, which is an excellent ICU sedative, and MSD, Merck, have just launched over the last few years Sugammadex, which is actually a reversant of a muscle relaxant. So there's very few players in this field. Our mission is to take the company from our current turnover of 10 million euros annually to around over 100 million over the next 5 years. We have an excellent team of individuals. My management team consists of finance, legal, operations, regulatory, medical, and commercial, with well over 100 years of pharmaceutical experience. As I said, I've had over 30 years of what I call big pharma experience with AstraZeneca, Novartis, and MSD, and joined Primex 3 years ago to really make a difference to patients, because that's what we really want to do. It's not about PowerPoint slides and board presentations. It's about really making a difference to particularly patients across the globe. We have a network of over 40 pharma partners, distributors across the world, both in EU, Latin America, Middle East, North Africa, and Southeast Asia, which allows us to sell our products at a local level. And we're continuing to expand into developing our own Primex subsidiaries in Europe to obviously maximize the returns of some of our products. So our lead product, and the one that we're most excited about and passionate about, is Oseland. Oseland was approved last year as the first oral solution pediatric sedative approved and licensed in the EU for children. Its licensed indication is for pre-medication prior to surgery and/or for diagnostic procedures such as painless procedures, which are things like CT, MRI scans for kids, emergency procedures such as the operating room, endoscopy suites where colonoscopies, gastroscopies are increasingly being used to diagnose kids, and obviously the dental clinics, and I was focused on dental hospital clinics first before we get into the clinic area. What is Oseland? It's a repurposed formulation of midazolam. It was discovered, not by a pharmaceutical company, it was developed and discovered by Amiens Hospital in northern France, with an anaesthetist and a pharmacist scratching their head saying, we have a huge unmet need. Children just do not want to take the current existing treatment, which is currently they mix up midazolam in the hospital and give it with orange juice or mint or liquid ibuprofen, which is totally unapproved and unregistered, but allowed for the hospital to make up. The kids mostly spit it out, and therefore they don't get the medication, they don't get the dose, and then you get the frequent flyers, the kids that are coming back in every month or every year, but basically, oh, I remember that one, that tasted foul, I'm not having that one again. So what are the alternatives? It's a needle, ooh, okay, you see the kids already running out of the emergency room, or a gas mask, which I remember having my tonsils out when I was 6, and I still remember to this day the suffocation and the feeling of that as the gas mask comes over you. So that's why it's so significant as the first oral pediatric sedative that is taste masked. We've bound gamma-cyclodextrin to midazolam, and it completely removes the bitterness of the original midazolam. And that allows kids to take it. It's a fixed dose. It's given. We have it as basically a ready-to-use pack with an oral applicator so that children can basically get an approved dose weighted in kilograms, so they get guaranteed the dose they need based on their weight. We've launched it in the UK, Norway, Finland, and Sweden. We're just waiting for pricing and reimbursement in France and Italy. And we have our second wave of markets in the early 2020 with Germany and all of the other Western European markets. We have a network of European partners, and we've also decided to go ourselves in Italy. We're looking at Germany because ultimately we see that as a bigger market. And obviously, when you partner a product, you only get effectively 50% of the net sales return. The forecast has been validated by McKinsey Consulting Group over the last 2 years, both in Europe, the top 5, and US. And the net sales revenue for us is around 100 million over the next 5 years, with obviously gross sales, excluding partners, of over 200 million. And the launch plan is why I'm here, is really to help us develop that launch plan with our partners and continuing to globalize the product. Last year, I had a 1-hour grilling in front of the FDA with the deputy director of the anesthesia division. She gave me a very tough exam, and I actually wondered why me, as a commercial person, was sitting in front of the FDA. They gave us a really tough grilling on biokinetics, statistics, research, clinical. But the final question gave me hope, is that she actually said, Mr. Knox, you've got a really good product here. We need products like this for kids in the US. How are you going to commercialize and price it? And so my team were quite pleased I was there, although I didn't actually answer the question directly. But it was a tough grilling, and I think the FDA have given us a 505(b)(2) regulatory pathway. We do need to invest in that to get through the regulatory hurdles that they require to get into the market. But it's not about if, it's when, really, into the US. And we look at getting the US approval by 2022. We don't just have Oseland, we have a backbone, a foundation of products that are supporting us, that have a positive cash flow into the business. Recofol is our branded generic Propofol. We acquired it from Bayer in 2010. And that we sell predominantly to private markets in Latin America, the next couple of years in the MENA region and in Southeast Asia. Why private? It sustains a good price. The European tender market is extremely competitive and extremely low, so we don't go there. And it's amazing how we actually maintain a very good margin from selling effectively a branded generic Propofol in the marketplace. Onya, we acquired 3 years ago. It was an Italian specialist endodontic and anesthetic business. It's specifically only Italian, turns over around 3 million annually, and it has 3 local anesthetics, articaine, mepivacaine, and lidocaine spray, and a range of specialist medical devices for endodontics. And we're basically cutting and pasting the model we have in Italy into the top 5 European markets. But it's quite a separate model, because obviously the dental business is quite different from pharmaceuticals. However, it's very complementary to our presence in the dental clinics, because obviously Oseland can be used, Propofol is used with children, and so we see a complementary approach to our portfolio. And they're recognized as strong local brands, and we continue to expand geographically. So our portfolio strategy is really about focusing on the triad of anesthesia. So it's in the perioperative space, focusing on amnesia, analgesia, and muscle relaxants, and their corresponding reversants and associated drugs used in the perioperative space, such as cardiovascular depressants, respiratory depressants, or products for postoperative nausea and vomiting. So it's really focused in that area. Why? Again, as I said, there's a blue ocean space, and we continue with our partners to expand. We now have a network of what I call partners and distributors across Latin America, excluding, at the moment, Brazil. We have a partner dedicated to 13 countries in the Middle East and North Africa. And we have 4 particular markets in Southeast Asia, excluding Japan and China at the moment, where we're expanding these portfolios. Our target audience are anaesthetists. At the moment, pediatric anaesthetists, but obviously with Oseland, but a broader brush in terms of using Propofol or other potential products. And they are an interesting breed. They haven't had the experience of bringing new products to the formulary even. So they don't know even the process sometimes, when we're having to help them understand the process of getting products on the formulary. We are developing new indications with our portfolio. So we're looking at Oseland for the elderly in anxiety, for example, because again, that would help us extend that life cycle. But more importantly, as part of our portfolio strategy, we're looking at add-on acquisitions. And we've identified about 5 products at the moment that are at late-stage development, but also early regulatory submissions that require companies like ourselves, i.e. they're sitting there in R&D, have no commercial presence whatsoever, who are in the anesthesia, analgesia, and muscle relaxant space. So we see these potential products which we would like support in acquiring and commercializing on behalf of these companies. So really, what is the ask? And how can I ask you to help us unlock our potential? We are looking to launch Oseland in the EU with a mixture of our own field forces, which is costly, admittedly. And we need upwards of 5 to 10 million to help us plan that through Europe. Our Oseland US submission is a minimum of $10 million. Why? It's really about doing the studies in the US versus in Europe. And the advice we've got from CROs in both Switzerland and in US is the FDA almost insists on the studies in the US rather than being done in Europe. So it's, unfortunately for us, it's a tenfold difference in price versus the CROs. We would like to continue to drive the growth of our portfolio, predominantly through a platform of acquisitions that we've identified, and ultimately looking for an investment range of effectively from 15 upwards of 25 million. And we've had some close calls, and we have gone through a lot of due diligence with private equity. And they're still quite interested, but we continue to pitch up to look at potential investors in Primex. I'll leave you with my final slide, which gives you a short summary of the company. If you have more information, my CFO and I are here today, but we do have a very large deck of information which we can supply you. Thank you very much for your attention.